Alrighty, my name is Faith Whithoft, and this is my exercise number 10, my final assignment. We'll be talking about autonomous driving, and the country I chose was Australia. So, what is autonomous driving? Well, autonomous vehicles employ driving assistance technologies that automatically function so that the user has to do not at all anything or very limited. The driver is the user because it'll automatically accelerate for them, brake, steer, and sense surroundings to keep the driver safe. In total, there's 6 stages of autonomous driving from 0 at fully manual driving, whether it be a manual or an automatic vehicle, the driver has to do everything, to 5, which is fully autonomous driving, which no countries have truly approved that level 5 just yet. We still need a driver behind the wheel. So, autonomous vehicles actually operate by using remote sensing technologies, including cameras, radars, and GPS systems. So, who's using autonomous driving? Well, over 50 countries are employing regulations surrounding autonomous driving. And remember, I said none of them are quite at the we don't need a user or a driver behind the wheel, just put a car on its way. We're not there yet. But some of the world leaders in this technology and its development are USA, China, Japan, Germany, and the UK. And different industries are finding creative ways to implement the automated vehicle technology into daily life. In business activities, such as in agriculture, autonomous vehicles may be used to streamline the harvesting process or the watering process, maybe even including drones, like we talked about in the past. Now we'll talk a little bit about Australia with where they're using autonomous driving. Australia is not what I would call a world leader for autonomous driving, but towards the end of 2025, they are deploying regulations surrounding autonomous driving in certain areas and with restrictions. The Australian National Transport Committee does support the safe and controlled testing of autonomous vehicles, but they still require the driver to be behind the wheel on public access roads. So, why is autonomous driving being used? We're going to do a SWOT analysis on autonomous driving as a whole, since there's not really a particular company that Australia has that we can really use here. So, a strength is that the widespread use of autonomous vehicles in Australia can produce significant economic benefits and overall productivity gains, including some sustainable development gains, as we'll talk about here soon. A weakness, though, autonomous vehicle technologies are still relatively new and have many limitations technologically, and safety issues are to be highly considered before fully adopting the technology through Australia and other countries. An opportunity, Australia is creating national laws and regulations to enable faster spread of the adoption of the technology. And for a threat, questions and concerns, many of them still remain about liability. Let's say two cars get into an accident and one of them has no driver behind the wheel, it's just a vehicle. Who's responsible then? So, when is autonomous driving being used? Well, autonomous vehicles are not outrageously expensive generally. They're still more of a luxury than the classic manual/automatic driving vehicle, so they're not being used nearly as much. And the widespread international adoption of autonomous driving has definitely been stunted by several factors, including safety concerns, as we talked about for drivers, the liability concerns, cybersecurity threats of, these cars need to be connected to like cellular internet, they might get hacked into, and that's a big issue. Just technological limitations because the technology is new and a higher barrier of entry than other typical cars. So, how do we use autonomous driving for sustainable development? Well, SDG 11 for sustainable cities and communities. Traffic congestion is definitely a hindrance with increasing sustainability, but autonomous vehicles can make stop and go traffic not so prevalent, and the most efficient routes are always taken by these autonomous vehicles to reduce the congestion and reduce harmful emissions in the process. And for SDG 13, adding on to the reduction of harmful emissions, The vehicles are able to optimize braking, accelerating, and reducing any unnecessary fuel consumption by finding and always taking the quickest routes to get somewhere. So, two truths and one lie. Most autonomous vehicles today are fully driverless in all different kinds of weather conditions. Autonomous vehicles can communicate with traffic lights so they never actually have to hit a red light. And some autonomous vehicles can drive themselves using only cameras without other sensors and radars. The lie: most autonomous vehicles today are not driverless. In fact, none of them are unless they're in testing phases. We don't really have that yet. Here are my citations and references. Thank you.